What is going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? You are on the sidelines with the Sideline guys for a very special MMA edition of TSG. I, of course, am being joined today by my brother in arms, the most honorable man that you will come across when it comes to his takes on these fights. My guy, Sean Negron. How's it going, brother?
Oh, it's going great. Uh, Missed you. It's been so long since we've last recorded one. So,
Yes,
but
sir.
it is good to be back here. I am glad to be breaking down this card. I look forward to these little fight nights just as much as I do the pay-per-views. So it's gonna be a good one.
Yeah, man. And looking at the card too, like I think this is a sleeper as far as what we could expect. I'm really looking forward to this card, and I'm looking forward to the dynasty part of it too. Like the draft is going to be interesting here, and I got the first pick, so it's feeling good. But before we get into the meat of things here, I just wanted to address some particulars. The first being, please make sure if you like what you see, right? You're enjoying what you're watching right now. Please make sure you hit the like button here on YouTube and you follow the brand at OTS Media Co. as well as OTS Media. OTS Media Co. on all platforms. OTS Media on YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed so that you can get all these lovely faces in your inboxes immediately as soon as we upload our videos. So, with that being said, um, I also wanted to ask you, Sean, where can the people find you off the top?
Where can you find me? All right. Well, you can always find me on Twitter/X. I'm still calling it Twitter. I don't care. At Sean Negron 26. It is You can also find me at bsreports.org, and that's my own website where I get a bunch of writers, anyone involved in sports and want to continue to be involved in sports to put their content on a platform, and I give people that time, that place, and if you ever want to do something like that, you can always reach out to me anytime.
Yes, sir. Get involved with BS Reports ASAP. It is confirmed. I have already started. So don't hey, that's a win, right? That's a win. I have started. So I've got an article coming soon. Keep your eyes peeled for it. It'll be up. I promise it'll be up before October 1st. So keep your fucking eyes out for it.
Wow, wow. That's a
With that
week
being
ahead,
said,
man. That's a week away.
yeah,
Be
man,
ready
I'm
for
I'm
it.
telling you, bro. I'm not only ready for it, I actually am interested in continuing this series. So you'll see. You'll
Ooh,
see. You'll
look
see.
at this. This guy's got a big grand reveal on the way.
Hey man, I've been putting this off for too long. Okay, I've been putting this off for way too long. But with that being said, you can find me as well on the Twitter machine because I refuse. I refuse. At Negrong MMA and also on TikTok at Negrong MMA. So follow me there, and then you could catch me on Instagram at Chris Negrong underscore. So with all that being said, the pleasantries out of the way, there were a couple big fight announcements for the upcoming pay-per-views. I first want to talk to you about this, right? So this new era of fight announcements, things have changed. I remember back in the day, there were reveal events. There were these suspenseful moments where we actually not only found out about one pay-per-view, but probably like the next five. Um, Lately, they've been doing the Dana White talking head
What's
telling
up,
you about
everybody?
fights. I fucking love that you did that because literally I don't know what that man is on, but he is wired. He is
He
wired for
is
sure.
wired, all right.
Um, but yeah, by the end of all these videos, I feel like he just got a head full of steam, and it somehow looks exactly like the end of fucking Friday. Like it's wild. But how do you feel about these new style fight announcements and the timing of them? Because I've got some things to say about the timing of these fucking announcements.
To be honest with you, I think it does a disservice to the fans to do this on Twitter. I do understand that you want to put it on a social media platform. You want people to talk about it and engage. It does much more in engagement if you're the one, you're posting it on Twitter, and then all the social media engagement after that is probably much better for the brand. But I believe that, for something like this, for something as big as 295 and 296, both of these cars back to back, I felt like, you know, that's how I thought they were gonna do it for Connor for 296. Like that was the big rumor that they were gonna wait until, right before a co-main event or something of of a previous pay-per-view to announce that Connor was coming back and let the fans erupt. But I get it at the same time because, it some people, aren't tuning in to some pay-per-views, and some people aren't staying up till midnight to find out that there's a fight coming. So it's easier for Dana White to just yell at the camera onto Twitter because it's timeless. You can watch it anytime. It's unlimited uh clicks. So I do understand why they do it this way. I do miss the old ways though, because the hype behind that sitting there with your buddies or sitting there with, whoever you're with or even by yourself and going, "Oh my god, they made that fight." And then checking social media to, or calling your friends and texting your friends, and that stuff I do miss for sure. But it is understandable why they do it this way. I just feel it takes away the hype, especially when you put it on a social media platform. A big fight announcement. It's like as you're clicking the video, you could see 68 comments that say the fight already. And you're like, of course. Okay, here we go. Like there's no big reveal as what it used to be.
For sure, man. I couldn't agree more. And the weirdest part about it too is like once again, like these events are not far out, right? Like a lot of the times we'll get this big dump of fights at one time, but we've got fights on the horizon talked about at this like press conference for the next 5 months. And so the fact that it's 3 months in advance, I don't like the counter programming aspect of it that they've done recently between the Ngannou announcement, uh, the
Very true.
rumors around the Bellator sale. Like I feel like they choose very strategically when they're dropping these
That's
nuggets.
it's not a they. That's a Dana thing. You know it. You know he can't stay away from having the limelight. Whatever it takes to get the attention back to the UFC. There's so many instances where he'll say he doesn't do this certain type of fight. He doesn't do this. He doesn't try to compete with boxing. He doesn't try to compete with others. And then it's like something big will happen with another organization, another anything, and he'll be like, "Oh, I don't do that stuff." And then you'll see 24 hours later, he's doing like the biggest thing to top whatever someone else had done. But yes, continue. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. I love it. And it's just like I said, it's very clear what you're doing. I agree 100% whenever it comes down to the announcements being dropped this way. A lot of times you're seeing it as far as people posting the news already and linking that video. So it's
Yes.
like there's no suspense and it just gets dropped on your fucking head. I mean, it's better than nothing, I guess, but it feels like a whole lot of nothing. Like once again, it feels like a missed opportunity. Like a lot of your cards could be getting a lot more hype, but I guess they just really have that much faith, blind faith in Dana's draw, right? Like I'm really interested whenever he decides to hang it up, right? Because I think it will happen in our lifetime. Um,
Well, it has to. I hope.
yeah, I
God
hope
willing,
so,
we're
right?
still
God willing,
God
you
willing,
got to
we're
throw that
still
out there.
here. Yeah.
But I think once he leaves, I feel like UFC might be lost at sea for a little bit, and it's not because
Definitely.
just because of him, but I just feel they rely so heavily on his influence. It's strange, but hey, I guess he draws, right? I can't complain too much.
Yeah, I don't think there's gonna be anyone that's a CEO slash owner, president, whatever you want to call him, like him. I don't think there is anyone like him. So, in the sports world, so I do. People hate on Dana. People hate on Connor. I've been a fan of the UFC for a long time. I cannot hate completely. Like, yeah, there are certain things that Dana is out of his fucking mind for, and some things that definitely rub me the wrong way that he does. Same thing with Connor, but I'm always gonna be a fan of the reason why, the UFC has blown up to the way it is, and that has to do a lot with what Dana has done, and a lot to do with, I would say anyone you can argue with me about this, but I would say over a third, if not close to half, of the fan base that it's grown from 2016 on has a lot to do with Conor McGregor, and it's easy to hate on him so quickly because it's just what this world is all about. But if Connor never existed, I think that this fan base would be not significantly less, but a decent amount less than it once was. Unless there obviously, there's another Conor McGregor with a different name. But if John Jones never got in trouble, then maybe it was him. But you know, uh, Conor McGregor blew up the UFC, blew up mixed martial arts. It turned everyone's eyes away from boxing, and that has a lot to do with the two of them. And I give a lot of credit to both of them for that.
For sure. I mean, just think about it this way. There's a whole era of fans that look at Conor McGregor like, why the fuck is this guy interesting? Like literally, they don't
Yeah,
they don't
definitely.
understand the bit. Cuz if you
Yep.
didn't live through it, you don't get it, right? You don't get it.
Yeah.
Monuments is time for the sport, and that's why ultimately he's always going to get the respect, right? Regardless of how these things go. Um his case, funny enough, for like being a Hall of Famer is 100%. Like, there's no question that he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. But you stack up what he's done with a lot of different guys that is kind of questionable whether or not they're going to be in the Hall of Fame, and
Yep.
it starts getting interesting. But once again, first double champ, you can never take that away from him. The dude is a
Definitely not.
legend, and I don't think we're going to see it again. Like, at least not to that scale. Like, there's going to be guys like Sean that's trying to do the damn thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't expect him to get this far, so I think he could also
But
sneaky
he was
blow
the
up, but not
first.
not to that level, not to
Yeah,
that
he was
level.
he was the first at that small of a weight class. Like, you had, especially at the UFC at that time, it was really about the heavyweights, drawing fans in for watching a bunch of heavyweights and light heavyweights. That was the big draw for the UFC at that time. And
Mhm.
obviously you had the smaller names like Jose Aldo was the untouchable, the unbeatable, was the godlike figure. But then you had this little pesky, arrogant asshole that just he talked the most shit, but he got everything done, and he always backed it up. And so he drew attention to these smaller guys, quote unquote, and it made people start paying attention to the UFC and it was right before, I think it was right around the time where rankings were beginning. Paying attention to rankings, paying attention to the Dominic Cruzes of the world, and like everyone knew who Dominic Cruz was, but I do think that with the stardom of a featherweight like Conor McGregor, it made people go, I want to pay attention more to the bantamweights now, and I want to pay attention more to the lightweights and the welterweights, and like obviously GSP was the king of the world, and as well, Anderson Silva came, and did his thing, but he was bigger, and I think Conor zero title defenses, but he is the biggest name in UFC history. He's as big as they'll ever come, and no one will ever come remotely close to it. Everyone, no matter what you do, anyone that even comes close to Connor in like a conversational point is always going to be referred to as the next Connor, or can he be as big as Connor? And even John Jones, who has backed it up with fighting as the greatest mixed martial artist of all time, he's nowhere near the stardom that Connor ever was. And from the 2016 to 2018 time, or even before that, 2014, 2015, but 2016 when he won at UFC 205 till fighting Khabib in, I think, 2018, after fighting in between fighting Floyd, that time was the peak of Conor McGregor and the ups and quickly like the fall
Before it
of
became
Conor.
dark, right? Before it got
Very dark.
fucking dark, it got dark quick too. Here, I
Yes.
love this conversation. I don't know how we
We
got
do have
here,
to push
but
it.
no, no, no. I'm gonna ask you this before we move on because
Yes,
as
yes,
you were
yes.
talking, I was just like, this just blew my head up. So I can only imagine your response.
Mhm.
If we live in the world where that tweet after becoming double champ was real, and Conor McGregor said, "Thanks for the cheese, I'm out," and retired, and meant it, and was done with his career, do you think he would have had a more chance to be considered the GOAT than he does now?
Ooh, good one. No. Um, Probably, yeah. You know what? Actually, I take that back. Yes, he would have more of a chance to be considered the goat, but he would never be like really in that conversation. Um, because of the fact, we look at Khabib now, and Khabib is one of the greatest of all time. But everyone always says now that he left too early. He retired too early, and people love to forget the reason why he retired. But it was, I think it's easy to hate Connor now because of the fact he's been so in and out, but mostly out. And that when he does come back, he looks like a shell of himself. And then, he ends up losing. And, because he's had so much ring rust and he's always doing some stupid stuff off of out of the octagon, he's getting into fights, he's getting arrested. It's just, he's hurting his own legacy. So I think even if said, I'm out, I think he can't help himself but be in the limelight. He has to make it about himself. He has to. So if he really did decide he was retiring and he was done, I think he would have done something outside of the octagon or boxing more boxing that he would have ruined his own legacy,
Either way.
as either way. He just can't help himself. And now, who the hell knows what he like when I look at him, I don't even recognize him now because I don't even know what weight he's at. He's probably close to 200 pounds.
Yeah,
But
I agree.
like everyone, I saw a bunch of rumors, and I said I would stop watching the UFC. Probably not, but I would be livid if I found a situation where Connor was fighting Sean Strickland to become a three-way champion. I would lose my mind if Dana would ever allow it because he would.
Yep.
Dana has said publicly before that if you're a star like Connor that has always taken a fight, who has done so much for the UFC, why would I ever say no to him? You know, This is the reason why you would say no to him because it does not make any sense. Granted, Sean Strickland would love that fight, but it would just destroy everything that you built for years in that weight class and just having a guy stroll in and out and he wouldn't win. And so it's like you have to be able to sit there and Connor's like he's got to be like you got to look at him as like your son in a way where he's the face of the UFC still, but you gotta protect him. And putting him against Dustin was a good opportunity at first. I still thought that he was going to beat Dustin that second fight, but then going into that third fight, I was like, please don't make that rematch.
Yeah, it's
He's
over.
not. He doesn't look like the same guy. Please don't do this. He's pretending to be angry now. He's looking like his former self. Please stop
He's
doing this.
pretending.
He's pretending like he was just this humble guy 6 months ago, and all of a sudden now he's angry because of the way the donation thing didn't work out. Like, come on. Like now you're because and
I think the
telling
first
your
one was pretending, not the second one, but I feel you.
which one the
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 well,
one
the
where he was all
second fight,
humble.
exactly, that was the pretending part. We already
I
saw
don't know.
the veil was already lifted of him being that person. Honestly, he grew to the
Yeah.
stardom he did because he was that. I genuinely think he was that person. Like that's who he
Yes.
was. But after the insane rise, right? I think there's another hypothetical world we could live in where he doesn't
Okay.
become the star that he became and actually has the skills to be considered more of a goat than he would be now because he was able to focus more. But that's another fun conversation for another day.
You can have
We
a
could
whole
go
episode on that.
hours on
There's so
exactly.
many hypotheticals that he could have had. There's so many times I wish he didn't beat Jose Aldo. Because I think he would have had that fire to make sure that he was considered the greatest of all time. But it's just beating Jose and then getting immediately, fighting Alvarez, but really the Nate Diaz twice, but just craziness. But let's get back to 2023.
Yes, sir. So I think it's important. I know how we got there, though, right? Because ultimately,
Yes.
talking about those press conference, that was the era, right? That was the Conor McGregor peak was the era where they would announce these things ahead of time and things like that.
Yes.
So it's all threaded, I promise. But anyway,
We
the
have
big
to we
fight
have to
announcements, right?
yes. Good
We
yes,
got
thank you,
we got some
thank you.
fucking business to attend to here, ladies and
Yes,
gentlemen. So
yes.
sorry. I hope you enjoyed the tangent.
I thought
Next
we were
up,
gonna skip right over it.
no, you're good. Next up, UFC 295. It was
Yes.
announced that the co-main event in New York in MSG, right underneath the main event of John Jones versus Stipe for the belt, the co-main is Yuri Prohachka returning to reclaim what is his, if you ask me, against Alex Pereira, the matchup made in heaven, the one we talked about as far as when we were looking at Jan Blachowicz versus Pereira, the matchup that the dream matchup, right? This was the one we wanted. Um, First of all, my first question is because I already know this fight is going to be insane, right? I said that about JDM and Kevin Holland, and it didn't come true, right? To that extent, I
Yeah.
know this fight is gonna be insane. Like there is not a Yuri Prohashka fight that isn't insane. They don't exist. Look on his resume. I promise they do not exist. So, and that on top of what Pereira brings, obviously he's the more reserved of the two. So Yuri's about to go crazy. Um,
Mhm.
I say all this to say, Sean, who you picking 3 months out? And how do
Mm.
you feel about this matchup being the co-main to a already historic card?
Ooh. Okay, so I didn't believe in Pereira to beat Jan. Um, I thought I thought Jan would have had better more of a gas tank against Pereira, and I thought that he would out wrestle him here. Yuri is very interesting because Yuri's rise to being a champion came off of such a crazy situation, and this has much more of a storyline here. The fact that um Yuri had beaten Glover Teixeira, and Glover Teixeira was winning that fight all the way until the final, like, 2 minutes of the fifth round, and all of a sudden everything flipped, and that Yuri submitted Glover out of nowhere. It seemed like Glover was about to win the fight 4 rounds to 1. It just seemed like it was his, and all of a sudden, Yuri came out, and he didn't even look like his best, but he got the job done. And then obviously the injury, and then Jamal Hill comes in, and then there's a whole thing here. But then Pereira is being trained by Glover this entire time, and this is kind of now like the fighting in Glover's honor for Pereira here. This is kind of getting that revenge factor. So you're going to have, like, you're going to see it all over the whatever they do, the UFC breakdown, the embeddeds, the when they do the, I forgot what they call it, the UFC episodes where they hype it up and make it so dramatic. But they're gonna go crazy with this. They're gonna constantly show that fight and show how Glover was winning. Geary pulls out on top at the last second, and while Pereira's in the corner, he's all excited, and all of a sudden you see him so heartbroken, and then they're gonna zoom in on his face.
That footage
It's just,
exists. Yeah, it exists.
yes, it does, and you knew that this day would come, and the day is finally here, and it's no bigger place to do it than Madison Square Garden. I think this is gonna be a hell of a freaking main card. Um, I can't wait till they fill out the rest of the event. In fact, I love that Mackenzie Dern and Jessica Andrade are also on this card. I think that's a hell of a fight as well. So when it comes back to this co-main, I don't know. I'm gonna go with Yuri right now, but I also want to see some footage uh of Pereira. I want to see his adjustments, and we've only seen one fight with him as a light heavyweight. So I'm curious to see how well that does against someone other than Jan, who Jan seems to be heading towards the outs of his career. He's an older guy, and dude was gassed after 5 minutes. Yuri, who's so eager to get his belt back against Pereira, who wants to be a two division champ. Like, you could not have two dudes more hungry. And obviously, with the storyline of Glover in the corner right there, you have a crazy story here, and it's so overshadowed because John Jones and Stipe being the two greatest, the greatest heavyweight versus the greatest of all time. But man, you could not ask for a bigger main and co-main at the Garden than this one.
Bro, you got
Did
me
I hype
fucking
it up enough?
fired up. Yeah, you got me fucking fired. Like I'm literally about to run through a wall for you, bro. Like I
I try
know
my
that
best,
the fucking MSG tickets are like astronomically
bro.
impossible. But
Yeah,
no matter what happens, you and I will be in the same room watching this fucking card. I already know that
absolutely.
because wow, goddamn, you got me hyped. But yes, as far as going back to the breakdown of things, I think an important factor that always gets lost in that Yuri versus Glover fight is the fucking body work, man. That's what led
Yes.
to that choke. It was not just oh he just took the back like Alexa Grasso or something like
Yep.
that. It was like a cumulative damage, and then eventually put himself in the position to get the win. That fight was fucking insane too. That's another fight that doesn't get enough respect in my opinion as all time great. Like what the fuck did I just watch? Moments for
Definitely.
sure. Um, as far as this matchup though, I couldn't I couldn't imagine a world where Yuri's gonna be able to fucking keep himself contained enough to not get hurt by Alex Pereira. Like whenever I think about this fight, I think no matter what, he's gonna get rocked and probably multiple times just with the way he fights.
Yep.
Um, it's so weird because I don't think there's ever been really anyone that I've watched, especially at these weight classes, that has the ability to take shots, but also has just such a weird like spirit to him where he can take shots and then he's just the way he does things is so different that over time it really does feel like some fucking super saiyan shit like you're watching
Definitely.
this guy get sent to the edge of hell and once he gets there is when you fucked up and you activated the biggest problem and he's coming
Yep.
back and doing Yuri shit and just destroying your life. So this is a very hard fight for me to pick. I'm just so scared of Alex Pereira and how cerebral he is. This is a 100% saddest hedge for me. I'm picking Pereira to win and become
I like it.
a two
I like it.
division champ, but I know who I'm gonna be rooting for, right? Like I think I'm in for some big time sadness on this card, bro. Like between this and the main event, like I think I'm gonna
Yeah.
be in big time shambles here. But goddamn, I'm so hyped for this. I'm so hyped. Is there anything else
It's
you want to say?
also it's also because and I didn't even mention it, is the fact who knows how good Yuri will be from the shoulder surgery.
Yep.
From the fact that he had hurt his shoulder, and it's the worst. Dana's even saying it's the worst shoulder injury that they've ever seen, and it's so bad. And he had to get rid of the belt. And now he's back. So who knows? Who knows if his shoulder will ever be 100%, or if it is going into camp. And I thought he was going to be out for like 2 years. I thought he was going to take his time coming back. But the fact that he is back at this time, and if this fight didn't happen, it would have been Jamal Hill versus him. And I think that
We need that. We need
that and
that
that will
before it's all
happen,
said
and
and
that
done.
will
Yeah.
happen this time next year. I think Jamal Hill, who had an Achilles injury, I think he'll be close to coming back. I think by early 2025, they'll probably have that fight ready. And even if they're not champions, they'll make that a fight night main event if they have to, because that fight needs to happen. But yeah, most definitely. It really is interesting, and the fact that what Glover is teaching Pereira, everything that went for in his fight went right, and everything that went wrong. So when you could not ask for a better coaching experience than the guy who literally fought him last. So you're going off the guy who fought him last, and then the shoulder injury. So you're really rehabbing your shoulder and trying to get yourself back to 100% before you can even prepare yourself for a fight, and then prepare yourself to do something different. So there's a lot there. So I 100%, it's gonna probably be a coin toss for me when the day comes on who I'm picking. I'll probably end up betting who I don't think's gonna win, so that I end up somehow being right, because if I pick who I want to win, I'll lose because I always do, and then that person will end up winning. So I have to find a way to outsmart myself with myself, but I'll get
Yep.
it done.
Gotta make the money work, right? That's all that matters. So yes,
I
sir.
lose
I feel
money
that.
from betting like crazy. It's
He's
crazy.
like, I lose money in order for the good, the greater good, for the.
Dude, who like this is what I mean. I haven't bet in a while, and I bet the Sean Strickland Adesanya thing, like easy $10, and
You
it's
sent
just
it to me too. I was gonna do it
curveball.
too.
I'm just sitting there going, like, what does it take for me to get one bet right? What is it?
So it's
What did
never
I do?
happened. Like it's never
No, never,
happened.
never. I cannot get a single bet right, no matter what. That's why
Motherfuckers
sometimes
be
I just
making
choose who I
donations,
don't
bro.
think's gonna win, and then I end up still losing. Like I swear, I have to just make my bets, and then you could see it, so that you could go and like put the craziest parlay on everything I choose wrong, and then you'll end up winning because I swear I have the worst luck. It's crazy,
I love it.
crazy.
I think a new feature somewhere down the line on this show has to be
Yes.
like we don't even have to bet real money, right? We just gotta like do like a picks challenge, right? Where like we're picking these different fucking fights based on odds and who we want to play with the fake units, right? So we could tally it
Yes.
up at the end. And just to see how it all works out, because man, who knows?
It's crazy.
Maybe you'll need real money for the juju to really be attached.
Yo,
But
telling you.
I think we could get you a dub. I think we could get you a dub, man.
No.
That's the thing about sports gambling. I've talked to my one of my close friends. Shout out my guy Lewis. I talked to him about this a lot, but he goes, "Oh shit." When we were talking about parlays, I like mentioned a parlay. He's like, "Oh shit, you like donating your money too?" Like literally, that's
Yeah,
exactly what it is. Like
bro.
just dropping donations, bro.
I knew I was cursed forever when I bet the Bills Chiefs game, and I picked the Bills, and I'm like, yeah, the Bills about to win it. Here we go. And I had the crazy parlay where it was the Packers, like that parlay where it was all the underdogs, and it just needed the Bills to win, and 13 seconds left. I'm about to get 2 grand. I'm about to get it. And then Mahomes and God and the DraftKings lords just said, fuck you, and took it all away from me. And I was heartbroken, but I apparently didn't learn my lesson.
I feel that, bro. There's nothing worse than that sweat. That's why sometimes you got to cash out, bro. It's not even worth it. But
Yes, I know.
we'll
I
we'll
know.
move
I
on.
think about it all the time.
The second crop of announcements is for UFC
Yes.
296. This was the card that we thought originally was going to be squared away for one Conor McGregor, the guy that we spent
Should
40
have been.
minutes talking about at the beginning of the show. But unfortunately, they couldn't figure out with USADA how to make that work, or maybe they're just going to drop one of those Brock Lesnar promos in a couple weeks, like you said, and he, like Stone Cold, he'll hop out with his theme music out of nowhere, and he'll just be walking out to the ring. Who knows? But they announced the co-main event as a goddamn banger. Alexandra, I fucked that up. Alexandre Pantoja going up against Brandon Royval for the flyweight strap. Sean, I gotta ask you again off the top. I'm gonna throw to you again. I promise I'll take the main event first. But
Oh, thank
how
you.
you feeling about this matchup? And most importantly, do you think that Mr. Pantoja can become the first flyweight champion since Demetrius Johnson to defend his title more than 2 times?
No, I don't think he'll be able to defend it more than 2 times. I think he will beat Royval, but I think his rematch against Brandon Moreno will happen eventually, and Moreno will get his belt back. Not speaking like I'm biased or anything, but I do believe Brandon Moreno thrives on the comeback story. I think he doesn't do well when he gets comfortable being a champion, but when he has to, when he wants to go get it again, that's when he's at his best. But keeping it on this, I Pantoja's on another level at this current moment. He looked really, really, really good against Moreno. when we were all together for that fight. Actually, I think it was UFC 290. But yeah, I think he's on another level. And Royval has lost to both Moreno and Pantoja, and I like Royval. I just think Royval is right there. He's always like I don't know how to like there's superstar A level guys, and I think he's like a A minus level type of guy where he's always going to be able. He's like Max Holloway in this current moment, where Max can beat any of the contenders, but when it comes to running into Pantoja, when it comes into running into Brandon Moreno, I look at it more as like I just don't think you're there yet. But this year has been full of the craziest of surprises when it comes to who's champion and who's not. We have people getting hurt. We have people who are unranked to being a number two to shocking the world, and then we have someone who we threw in as a gimme fight who ended up winning. It's just been crazy. It's been a crazy, crazy year. So Royval has just as much of a chance as Pantoja, but if I had to think as a MMA fan, like I have been for the last 12 years, I would have to say Pantoja has my call for right now.
Yeah, man, that all spot on stuff. I love it. I love the analysis here. Um, Whenever I imagine this matchup, obviously we already saw it once, right? I think what makes this one so murky and why I'm having a hard time saying anything definitively, right, is like we have no idea how Brandon Royval is gonna look. Like it really comes down to how how he's been able to recover from his multiple injuries and what he's been able to do in the meantime, right? So I think as far as gains being made, I think it'll be a much closer fight than the second fight, but I'm going with Pantoja as well. I don't. I think this is gonna be an awesome fight. Like I love that it's a co-main to this card too because it's gonna lead right into the main event. It's hopefully that momentum carries over into the main event as well. Um, I hate it though, just because I feel like Colby Covington's gonna find a way to be a dick to two of the nicest dudes in the fucking world. He's gonna find a
Probably.
way to do it. But yeah, I think Pantoja is a pretty safe bet here. I also agree with you though that I just feel like honestly, bro, I just think we're all these motherfuckers are vulnerable. Like I think this was always true in MMA, and like people like John Jones, people like GSP. These are all outliers for a reason, right? These are people that are doing extraordinary shit that still you look back on, and obviously with what we know now, the trends still exist for a reason. It's very clear that what they were able to do is very special and it's going to be hard to replicate. And who knows if we ever will see that to that extent. I just think moving forward, we can expect a lot of turnover with these belts, and nobody is safe, man. That this is why I love MMA because nobody is safe, right? Like imagine a world where the WBC title is moving every 2 years like this consistently to somebody else. It doesn't happen, bro. It really doesn't. So um love me some MMA because of that. Our main event, Leon versus Colby Covington, Colby Queefington himself, Diego Lopez's twin brother from the States. I can't stand this fucking fight. The fact that it took this long to play out, I think a lot of it was actually because of Leon, honestly. But I don't even care. The fact that it took this long and we sat on this knowing that he never deserved this fight, but for some reason Dana props him up like he's the most deserving contender ever because he weighed in as a backup. Like the rationale for the fight, terrible. The actual matchup, now you talking to me, right? Now we could actually get into this. Everything about Colby Covington is default. I'm annoyed because I actually liked him as a person before the fakest heel turn ever, right? It's not even a fucking heel turn, honestly. It's it's a cringe turn. Um as far as him as a fighter, the dude is fucking good. Like let's be very clear about that. And I think he poses some very unique challenges to Leon Edwards. Now, if this was 2 or 3 years ago, I think I'll 100% be picking Colby Covington. I think just based on what we've seen and who we know Leon to be at that time, um, it would make more sense, even considering his own long layoffs, right? What has it been? Shout out to Bilal Muhammad tweeting out, it's been over 1,900 days since he's gotten a win, which is very true, right? That against someone that's still relevant in the UFC. His record aged like milk, but the skills is what pays the bills, and they exist. So please do not sleep on Colby Covington here. Um, I am going to be picking Leon Edwards, but I think this one goes to the cards, and I think both guys are gonna have an argument onto who's gonna win this fight. I think it's gonna be that close. I think the cage defense is where this fight is going to be won or lost, in my opinion, as far as the grappling exchanges and the takedowns from Colby. If Leon can keep him at range and not even make that a factor, he wins easy, right? But I just don't see a world where someone as persistent as Colby and someone who's willing to get hit to land a couple like him, I just don't see it getting excuse me, I don't see it not getting messy and giving him an opportunity to get in on Leon's hips at some point. Um, I think I'm gonna comfortably say I'm picking Leon, and we'll see how things go as things develop. But I'm not sleeping on Colby, and I would hate to live in a world where he's champ. But Sean, who you got for the 296 main event?
It's tough for me because, to be honest with you, I could see a situation where Colby finds a way to get it done, and because this year has just been so crazy, and I really, I really don't understand a way how he gets a title shot. You know, the, we've been arguing about this for a while. Even reporters have brought it up to Dana, and like the way Dana holds Colby to the he's the greatest welterweight there is if Usman doesn't exist. Yeah, then at that time, yes, then. But Leon has taken over. Leon has fought Usman 3 times now and beaten him the last two. He learned how to beat him. He beat him, and then he did it again to prove that he could beat him. Colby has had 2 different shots at Usman at 2 different times and lost both. I don't see how beating Masvidal, who's clearly on the way out because of a tremendous hype fight, that weeps him into getting a title shot where he because he put himself as a backup just so because he knew he wasn't going to fight, but he threw himself as a backup just so he could be in Dana's good graces. I don't know. This is tough for me. I think Leon's at a better point right now, but at the exact same time, I could see a situation where Colby just out wrestles him. He's a much better wrestler, and Colby has the weakest hands I've ever seen, but he can land some pretty decent combinations, back in the day. So I do think that there is anything can happen, and the fact that Nate Diaz, if he really wanted to, could have put Leon to sleep at that fight. I still think that Leon has had an amazing moment, and the fact that he beat Usman in the head kick, and then having his home crowd behind him definitely, I think definitely helped him out. Retain the belt, but back in American soil, and the fact that Colby is going to be either loved or hated, but I think mostly loved. I think there's a real scenario here where Colby can come out as a champion, and we will have a situation that I never thought would be possible of Colby Covington, Sean Strickland, and Sean O'Malley as champions in UFC. It could be the craziest times in UFC history, and if he gets the belt, bro, dude, the 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 floodgates that would open for that division and for that character of arrogance would be unreal. Like you almost need him to lose because if he loses this one, there's like nothing he could say now. Like you had 3 title chances and then you lose all 3, and then your resume, like you said, it aged like fucking like milk. Like you have some decent wins, but the wins you really have are guys who don't exist here anymore. So you could really ride off Covington. I think Covington's entire career rides on this fight, and
Mhm.
I think Leon could be the final chapter for him for sure.
Damn, bro, that was poetic, bro. On this earth, there's not a win that's credible. On Sean, I said Sean on Colby Covington's record. I fucking love it. But now let's get to the best part, the reason why we came to talk on this show, and it's UFC Hellscape 1000, Fiziev versus Gamrot. I, as far as Apex events go, this is actually a pretty good fight night card, right? Like this is a pretty spicy fight night card. I've definitely
This is at
seen
the
better.
Apex. Oh,
I've
it is at
definitely
the
seen
Apex.
better.
Oh, I didn't
Oh
even know
yeah.
this was at the Apex. That is disappointing. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, man, it's been such a good stretch, right? Of all these good epic fights in epic locations to match the market where you got passionate fans just going crazy in France, all of Mexico traveled to Vegas, and then we're chilling in fucking the Apex once again. God damn it. Um, I can't wait to start with this first fight of the night because the memes here are tremendous. Montserrat Rendon at plus 200 is coming up against Tamirez Vidal at minus 225. Sean, I got to ask you off the top, I'm putting you right in the hot seat here, man.
That's fine.
Are you going to draft another Montserrat at plus 200? Is that what's going to happen here?
Oh, hey man, it's possible. I have to see how my draft goes, and I might have to do some sneaky stuff here. I might have to change my name to Team Montserrat. You never know.
I fucking
You
love it.
never know.
Who you got?
In this fight, um, I have to say I'm more of a fan of uh, Vidal. Watching her, in the fight night with obviously the flying knee, but before that, when she was in the LFA, she's had some very very distinguished wins, and she has dominated the scene for quite some time. And seeing her get into the UFC and have a performance like she did definitely put me in the radar there for me to notice. And for Montserrat, like I do like what she's done as of late. I do feel though that I feel she's a little early coming in to the UFC, and I say that because she hasn't fought in almost a year, and that her last win was in Invicta, and that one um, was very very close. I literally just rewatched the fight today just to see because I was like, has Brittany fought? I mean, Brittany fought because she fought Brittany, but I was like, has she fought anyone other than Brittany in a while? Anyone? Has anyone happened? And um, so I really just I don't know how much she's could have learned without fighting in a whole year and then getting this call up to the UFC. I think this is a big opportunity for Vidal to continue to show how big of a fight she can be, especially as the first fight of a Apex. They could get the crowd going. The 500 of them that'll be there. I think this could be a nice little start to the card, and I think it'll be with Vidal getting a ground and pound knockout.
I love it. All four of the fans are just going to be going absolutely insane.
Absolutely crazy.
It's
I
gonna
feel like I can
you'll be able to hear a fucking pin drop during this fight. I promise you guys. Um,
definitely, definitely.
it's so weird, right? Because she is very green, Montserrat, despite
Yes.
being the older fighter, right? She's 34, while Tamira's Vidal is 25. Um, I'm kind of rooting for Montserrat because of that, right? Like
Yeah.
this is the time if there ever is one, and I think she has an interesting skill set. what really confuses me is I feel like she lacks next level power and process. Like both of those things are what's stopping her from moving on in this division. And she just ends up in weird like clinch fest like over and over again. And
Yes,
in those
definitely.
spaces, you're gonna end up really getting tied up with Vidal, which I really like how aggressive her jujitsu is. No matter where she is, she's hunting submissions. Like she's trying to wrench your arm against the fence. She's trying to figure out ways to set things up, which I love. Um, this is a tough matchup. Honestly, more so than the odds suggest, in my opinion. I'm also going with Tamirez Vidal in this one. I'll just be shocked if you'll be able to make your UFC debut at 34 years old and get a W against a prospect that actually looks like she has promise in this division. So at the end of the day, though, um, I'm just glad that bantamweight is getting some new blood, right? We need some new movement going on in this division. So got to
Yes.
get something going, but we look to be unified on this one. Next up, Mizuki Inoue, a minus 298 favorite going up against Hannah Goldie at plus 255. Um, there's a lot of people in love with Hannah Goldie. I don't get it. It's the muscle mommy syndrome. It must be.
It
Um,
has to be.
right? It has to be. Excuse me. As
Definitely.
far as their fighting styles, I think Hannah Goldie is someone who, as far as her athletic platform, like she has fucking earned her stake in the UFC, regardless of if she is a championship quality fighter. I think everything she has become as a mixed martial artist is because she fucking puts in so much work, like more than a lot of people. And the reason why I say that is, and this is once again as respectfully as possible, despite her athletic ceiling, I feel like a lot of things don't come naturally to her, as far as the striking phases and in grappling exchanges as well. um, it's honestly kind of hard to find an area where she is dominant, and if you do, it's usually against a fighter who isn't that good, right? So um, I love Mizuki Inoue's potential. I don't love
Okay.
her game. I think
Mhm.
she, and once again, it's been 3 years, right? It's been 3 years since we last saw her fight. We have no idea how she's gonna look either, right?
Yeah.
But I think as far as her actual advantages, a lot of the time she ends up not being able to bring them to bear, not being able to have effective takedowns a lot of the time, but really leaning on your grappling game, and then having a like building an outside game that's actually really dangerous. But finding yourself like, I don't know, it's just weird. Like it's not even fainting, once again, not even fainting for the sake of setting things up, but fainting to try to find range and then just lunging in a lot of times. I think there's a lot of growth for both of these women, if if they want to be title contenders, that needs to happen. But I think it's pretty clear that they try to set up Mizuki to get a nice win here on the mend, and obviously they
Yes.
would love to have some more Asian talent to trot out there with their future plans. So I think this is a pretty set up fight, and I honestly would be um, really down on Mizuki Inoue's stock if she ends up losing this one. Not just because um, it's set up for her, right? But just, and this is no hate to Hannah Goldie, but I think if they fought 3 years ago before she ever got injured, Mizuki Inoue would have been able to beat Hannah Goldie. So, I don't see that changing now. So, once again, I think I beat that horse dead. How you feeling, Sean?
Well, I also look at it the same thing where, yeah, Mizuki hasn't fought in 3 years, but you know, um, thing is that with Hannah, she's only fought once in 2 years. So, I think this fight is set up for Mizuki, and I think Mizuki fights out of Longo's camp right here in New York.
Yes, sir.
So, I do love what they're doing over there. They have a great team, and I think this fight is a perfect fight to get her back into the UFC leaderboards and the rankings or whatever. Even though she won't be ranked right away, but I think this is a fight for her to kind of build herself back in. I do like Hannah Goldie. I hate calling her Goldie because her name is Goldschmidt, and I that's how I know her. But it's just I don't know. It's just me. I hate calling her Goldie. It's weird.
The fact that you know her
Um,
as that is kind of crazy.
yeah, I don't know. I looked at her. I've been watching. I've been waiting for this event.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
because I had to sit out a week, so I had to go full tape, watch the game film, and really focus up because that's what happens when you have time when you bet on yourself and lose. So I was watching this her fights, and I do like her boxing style. The thing is with me is that I think inactivity and even the activity that she's had as of late hasn't worked out. And her last fight that I remember, which was a little over a year ago against Meatball Molly, was definitely very telling for me. That was a time when they were hyping up Molly the best that they could, and I think they're gonna do the same thing. I think Hannah is just another throw him in to hype up another fighter, which has got to be tough for someone like Hannah. But that's where I think it goes. I'm going Mizuki as well.
All knotted up. Next up, Mohammed Usman, who's a minus 142 favorite, coming up against Jake Collier at a plus 135 on the return. Sean, how you feeling about Kamaru's older brother, right?
Is he? Oh yeah, I think he is. He is older. I think you're right. How do I feel about it? I think this is Usman's fight to lose, but he has. I think he wins. Um, pretty dominantly, to be honest with you. I think they've been trying to hype up Usman as much as they can. He's been kind of slow coming out of the gate since winning the Ultimate Fighter, but um, I think now he's starting to get his footing. He's got a big story here. Every time he fights, they obviously mention the situation that happened with it was his son or his daughter. I think it was his daughter. I don't remember what happened, but it's very really unfortunate. And he's trying to. It's very very difficult to be just like your brother, and I don't think he's gonna do that. But you have a nice camp there, and yeah, he's got to be older because I think Mohammed's around 34, 35. Um, he's a very scary man. He's built very well. And when I look at someone like Jake, Jake kind of floats around for me. Jake kind of reminds me of like Mike Tyson Punch Out when you're on like the second or third round, where they're gonna give you a little bit of problems, but you're gonna when you face Piston Honda for the second for the first time, not the second time. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about at all, but when you when you fight him the first time, you could dominate him easily, and then you just watch him crumble the rest, of his career in boxing in that game. But I think it's going to be just like that. I think Muhammad is going to, if he could just find a way to not gas out after the first 3.5 minutes, I think he can absolutely take it and just keep the distance. And I think Usman gets it done. It's going to be close at first, but I do think that Usman will be just much more powerful and will get the finish.
I love the way you broke that down because it made me question my pick. Like it made me feel like fuck, man. Muhammad Guzman is a gassy guy. He is a gassy
Yeah.
guy, and I am one
For sure.
to root for the dad-bodied opponent, right? I am that guy. Um, I think there's real paths to victory for Jay Collier, especially
Do it.
in the
Take him.
grappling phases, right? In the grappling phases, if he's able to
Yes.
make Muhammad Usman work consistently, I think he's a little smoother on the feet. Now,
Yeah.
I'm loving the improvements I've seen since he's gotten with Trevor Whitman. Since that change has happened, he's actually been looking a little more methodical out there, which you love to see, but also just a little more contained, especially in the striking. which you love to see. I think him and Kamara really benefited from training with Trevor, especially with that 1-2 and just getting used to finding your range versus trying to collide into range to get a takedown, right? I think if that trend continues and everything you said, this should be a Muhammad Usman fight. Interestingly enough, there's been actually a lot of line movement on Jake Collier. There's a lot of people betting on him as an underdog, so much so that in some houses I see Muhammad Usman down even at 135 right now, as far as a closer favorite. Um, this feels like a trap fight. This feels like we're both gonna have a red stripe on our record because of this fucking fight next week. Um, but I think Muhammad Usman is the pick to make for sure. So I'm gonna go with
Damn
it.
it.
Yeah, I had to make the case, but can't go off the deep end. Next up,
Yeah, I hear
Jacob
you.
Malkoon at minus 485, coming up against Cody Brundage at plus 400.
Hmm.
Someone who is, I believe, a late the second late notice replacement. The
Yeah,
original matchup was supposed to be Alyashkov Kizriev, a
that's
fucking
right.
assassin. So I,
That's
I'm
right.
I'm happy for Jacob Malkoun that that's not the fight. But um, Sean, I'm gonna let you lead the dance here. How you feeling, brother?
I'm going with the Mamba here. Going with the Mamba, which is Jacob. That's his nickname. Um, I like it. I'm a little bit nervous because of how big the odds are, but I'm a big fan of his. I am I am less of a fan of Cody than am a big fan of Jacob. So I think Cody has, how do I put this lightly, a interesting fighting style to the point where I think it has not worked for him in quite some time, and I think nothing has changed to fix that. But I do love how often he does fight and how often he tries to throw himself back in. I had a lot of hope for him when he had beaten Trayshawn Gore, which was already 4 fights ago. And it was only, I think, a year ago. But I do love how active he is. But at the same time, I think this is um, Jacob's fight to lose, and I just don't see that happening now. And I do feel that Jacob gets the job done.
Yes, sir. Um, this one's a little weird for me. Not gonna
Hmm.
lie. I think Cody Brundage is clearly, in my opinion, the better athlete. Um, but Jacob Malkoun is certainly the better processed fighter. Um, I 100%, if I'm picking anyone, it's going to be Jacob Malkoun, just because he has proven not only that he can win fights with his grappling and his stand up, but that he's also just fucking nails, dude. Like this guy takes shots and is willing to engage in any phase of MMA. But once he gets dominant position on you and he's able to punish you, he's gonna punish you and he's gonna make you regret any of the damage you may have been able to land along the way. I'm I'm a little more worried about this fight than I should be. I think. I think he's this big of a favorite for a reason. It is what it is. But I'm looking out for you, Cody Brundage. You got a big opportunity here, and there's paths, man. There is paths, right? When you clearly have the higher athletic ceiling, but Jacob Malkoun is locked in. That's four in a row, baby. Four in a row where we have the same fighters. I love it. Our next fight, we've got Tim Means. Timmy Means business, baby, at plus 160, coming up against Andre Fiallo, who is a minus 175 favorite. I just gotta say off the bat, I fucking love this fight. This fight is amazing. This is one of the fights I'm most looking forward to. This is a scary fight for Tim Means. Obviously, as he's aging in this division, I think Fialo's power is dangerous for anyone, but especially an aging fighter at 170. I'm actually a little concerned with whether or not Fialo's actual weight class is 170. Um, well, 150. Where does he fight? He fights at 170, right? Am I losing my mind
Is
here?
I always thought it was 170, but now you have me thinking
Because he used to fight. He
differently.
used to fight at lightweight. Am I bugging
Yeah,
about
they're
this?
yes, they're welterweights.
Yeah, yeah, they are welterweights. Oh,
Yes,
I will
you had
confirm.
me questioning myself for a second.
Yeah, I did question myself too because I know for sure Fiallo has fought at lightweight. So considering that, it's a little weird that he looks big for this fucking weight class. But I don't. I'm interested in that narrative moving forward and whether or not this is an easy cut for him. I'd say that to make the case that this feels like Tim Means versus Mike Perry all over again, right? Like as far as the matchup, like he's gonna be competitive. He's gonna be there in spots. Um, Fiallo clearly is the much more dangerous guy. Um, but give me fucking Tim Means, man, at plus 160. I'm taking the dog, baby. I'm a fan of both guys, so I'm not gonna be affected either way. I just think he's gonna go on his own little Matt Brown redemption tour until he gets his Matt Brown rematch. So give me Tim Means.
I disagree. I think Andre Fiallo is trying to right his wrongs. He's still young in this game, 29 years old. He's still got plenty of career left in him. I think he's had a rough go as of the last, what is it, last year and a half, let's say. Um, I still, I'm not looking at him as being a better fighter. As I felt like losing to Jake Matthews was pretty telling to me last year, and then uh, the loss to Joaquin Buckley earlier this year was another one. But I believe that Tim Means I do love because he's one of the few fighters that are still around from the time I started watching, and I'm a big fan of him. He's been around for I think literally forever, um, probably since like 2013 or 2012. So I think I'm a big fan of what Tim Means has done for his career. He's built some crazy winning streaks, and then even now, I think this is the telling and the telling point and the time to step off point for him. He's 39 years old. Um, you know, he lost to Alex Morono, which Alex Morono is the king of stepping in at last second type fights, and he either gets beat up completely or he beats you up. And I think with this is a career ender for Fiallo if he can't get this done. And I think with Tim Means, his career is coming toward an end regardless. And I think that Fiallo realizes that he needs this win. He needs to get back in the winning ways. And I think this is a win for Fiallo and a way for Tim Means to put the gloves down for the final time.
I love it. I think the only way Tim Means wins this one if he's the matador to Fialo's bull and is able to catch him coming in. That's the only way he's gonna win.
Yes,
Even
I
if
agree.
I don't see him knocking him out. Like I think it's gonna be by decision if he does. So I'm hoping for a lot to work out here. I will admit that. So I'm not hating on your pick at all. Next up, another one back to back. These next four, to be honest, are on my radar, and not just because they're good individual fighters, but because the matchup is just fun to contemplate. We've got Johns at plus 154 coming up against Dan Argetta, who's a minus 175 favorite. Dan is fucking jacked, bro. Just diced up from the socks. How you feeling about this bantamweight throwdown, Sean?
See, you say he's jacked, but at the same time, I can't take anything away from Miles, man. That dude's jacked as well. So this is gonna be really, really close. Bantamweights like this are always very dicey because it really can be anyone at any given moment. I really do like Miles Johns in this fight, but at the same time, like seeing what Dan did in his last fight, got me a little worried. And he's had a really dominant run when he was in the LFA, and he had a better win when he started this year off, after losing to Damon Jackson. But I believe, honestly, I believe in. I'm going to change it up, and I'm going to go with Miles because
Ooh,
I believe in experience, and I believe that Miles is going to be counted out on this fight. I think this fight's going to be hyped up a little bit more for Dan, and I do really believe it's long as Miles doesn't get uh, choppy with this and he doesn't become so sloppy. I think Miles can get the job done here, and it's going to be really close. I could definitely see Dan taking this one, but I think I'm going to switch it up, and I'm going to go with Miles here. It's going to be very close.
dude, I love it. I love that you made this pick because you took the weight off of me here, right? You took the weight off of me here. This is a dangerous fight for Dan Argueta. I agree. I agree with you 100%. This is a dangerous fight, and I think the way he wins this isn't even just go out there and take him down, bro. Right? That's what people are gonna say. I think it's really comes down to how willing Dan Argueta is to strike with Miles Johns to set up his takedowns. I think Miles Johns like you said, puts himself in a position um just all the time he puts himself in bad positions, overextending for shots, and really trying to just fucking kill you out there. He's that kind of fighter. So if you're gonna allow those exchanges to a certain extent, it's gonna open up more opportunities. Now, can you get rocked and hurt in the meantime? 100%. I think that's a really scary prospect sort of matchup on the way up because not only can this guy like really put you out on the feet, but it's not like he's known for having bad grappling. Like the exchanges in this is going to be amazing. Obviously, I'm a little upset with the way the Ronnie Lawrence fight went because I love me some of the heat. I love Ronnie Lawrence, and I thought we had something going there, right? I thought there was something exciting to watch. Um, I am a little worried that when it comes down to Dan Argueta's long-term upside, when the going gets tough, we see him sort of wilt a little bit. So I was so close to doing the same thing as you, but I'm gonna pick Dan Argueta here. I think this should be an advanced spot for him just because Miles Johns isn't someone who has like a imposing reach advantage and fights to his advantage if he had it. So give me Dan Argueta. Got to catch my breath here. Next up, we've got Ricardo Ramos at plus 120 coming up against Charles Air Jordan at minus 135. I know you love the way I did that, right?
That's
Just gotta
beautiful.
fucking roll. Gotta roll it a little. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
yeah.
saying? I
That
was
that was
there. I was
beautiful.
there. I was there in the UBS arena when he fought Shane Burgos. God damn it. Um, I'll take the lead on this one. I love both of these guys' games so much. I think this is the closest fight statistically on the card for a reason, right? Like this is a prospect fight if there is one. Both of these guys have significant upside at 45. It's so funny how far Ricardo Ramos has come in his UFC career. Um, I I really like the most recent developments from Charles Jourdain versus what I've seen from Ricardo Ramos lately. I think Charles Jourdain has been okay. How do I explain this properly? I feel like Charles Jourdain now was Ricardo Ramos like 4 fights ago. Like he was willing to do a whole bunch of wild shit and put himself in tough positions and hadn't been made to pay for it just yet. I think he's recently really reined in his game and has stood within himself and still been able to be consistent on offense, which you love to see. Ricardo Ramos is just as dynamic as it comes, and I think his submission skills here adds another layer of danger that makes this a scary fight to pick. I'm going with Charles Jourdain here. I think he's going to be able to be consistent enough to try to hurt Ricardo Ramos at some point. I think he's always dangerous, obviously, always willing to throw some crazy spinning shit that could just take you out. I just think long term process wise, Charles Jourdain is going to be able to eat up those legs, land some nice teeps to the body, start forcing Ricardo Ramos to come in, and then I think Charles Jourdain might even get a couple takedowns, just reactive doubles as he is trying to crash in and make something happen as the fight sort of starts to get away from him. So I think this actually turns out to be a relatively clean 29-28 unanimous decision victory for Charles Jourdain. What you got, Sean?
The exact opposite. I think I'm going with Ricardo here, and I do this because I actually have paid attention to Jourdain for a while now. Obviously, he's been here for a good minute. But I have not been impressed as of his last, I would say, 2 years. I haven't I haven't looked at it, and I thought differently, and I also look at it the way the UFC tried to look at it, where they threw him against Kron and wanted Kron to show out, like they were giving him Jourdain so that Jourdain would lose, and I look at that in a way where obviously it was very clear that they were trying to hype up Kron again, and I think Jourdain's still a great fighter. I just feel that Ricardo has improved a lot since I last saw him at the last time I saw him when he lost in my god, what I don't remember. We just talked about him. Go over to share his card. I can't
Mhm.
remember it, but it was one of those. But it was I've seen him improve a lot, and I'm a big fan of what he's done to improve. And you know what? I can never go wrong with anyone fighting out of alpha male. So they have some losers over there. They have some winners, and I think he's one of these guys where he's gonna prove that he belongs here. And I think kind of change the outcome for Jourdain here. I think Jourdain had a nice win against Kron, shutting him out completely. But I believe that Ricardo is gonna flip that narrative really quickly. So I'm gonna go with Ricardo.
I love it, man. I love it. I hope Ricardo Ramos is able to bring the fury back out of Charles Jourdain.
Yes.
I think I would love to see that. Next up, Brian Battles minus 175 coming up against AJ Fletcher plus 155. Sean, how you feeling?
Ooh, this is a good one. I'm actually I'm a fan of this one, to be honest with you. Um, the reason I'm a fan of it is because I think I'm into this Brian Battle hype. To be honest, I think I'm beginning to believe. I haven't been the biggest of believers of him, but I did love what he did in the Ultimate Fighter, and then his come up has been really exciting. And I thought, yeah, you know what? I'm not really too convinced yet. Not convinced yet. And I think I was doing everything I could to not be convinced of Brian Battle. And I kept looking for a way out. I kept looking for a reason. And you know, I think it was the loss. I can't remember who he lost to. Can't there's no way I'm gonna remember his name. But I could see it in my head.
Renat Fakhradinov.
There you go. That's gotta be who it was. Um Because I remember there's no shot of me pronouncing that name. I remember that one very, very well. Um, yeah, that's gotta be who it was. But yeah, I and then that's what was telling me right then and there. Like, oh yeah, see, this is the reason. This is the reason why I can't believe in him. But then, his very next fight where he wins, I think it went under like 30 seconds against
14.
yeah, against Gabe Green.
Gabe Green.
Yes.
Bars.
Yes. Bars. Then I was like, you know what? Why am I hating? Why am I hating on what this man has been doing? And I'm not taking anything away from AJ Fletcher because AJ Fletcher has had a great resume as well. You know, he's new to the UFC scene, but if you have seen him in the Contender Series, obviously, but before that, at AKA, and I can never remember this promotion to save my life, but he fought somewhere before for like 4 different fights. I see it all the time too, and I can't remember it, but it's he's had a very nice little resume, and I have to start believing in Brian Battle, and I think you know what, no better time than right now. So I'm going to go with Brian Battle here. It's going to be a hell of a fight, though. Hell of a fight. This could possibly be fight of the night for me, and I think Brian gets it done.
I love the breakdown, man. I think the biggest problem for AJ Fletcher in this matchup is going to be the reach disadvantage. He has a 67-inch reach, while Brian Battle has a 77-inch reach, a 10-inch reach advantage. I love AJ Fletcher's attitude and spirit when he's fighting. I think he's an easy guy to root for. I say this with all due respect, because once again, you could come and cut my ass too. I will welcome it. But the dude is funny looking, right? Like just the dimensions of his body and the way like his frame for 170 is kind of weird, bro. So every time I watch him fight, I can't help but get that out of my mind. Um, I agree with you. I'm a big fan of Brian Battle. That was the last season of The Ultimate Fighter that I cared about. And the entire time watching his run through that season, I'm like, he's making these guys look bad, and he's the last pick, right? He's the underdog. He was supposed to be um, someone who just got finished early on someone else's story way to the title, right? Instead, he was able to win the Ultimate Fighter, and just that determination. He's a completely different guy since when he won the Ultimate Fighter. And you can see that just in his physique. The dude took the move down to 170 seriously and has been looking amazing for it. So I agree with you. I'm also going to be picking Brian Battle here. I think there's a real uphill climb for AJ Fletcher. I think if there is a path to victory, it's going to be being really consistent with his takedowns and putting himself in a good position to get top control. We've seen Brian Battle have issues with Renat in that phase, but I don't think AJ Fletcher is anywhere near a Renat Fakhradinov. So I am going with Brian Battles. Next up, excuse me, we've got Marina Rodriguez minus 300 coming up against Michelle Waterson Gomez at plus 255.
Bruh.
Um, bruh is right because no matter what happens here, um, if we're not linking up to watch this fight, this is the no pants fight for me. They're gone, bro. They're gone. Love me some Michelle Waterson Gomez, but I think this is a very tough matchup for her. I mean, we already saw
Yes,
this fight
most definitely.
once, and that was a very bad loss for her then. I think since then, the biggest change that we've seen in Michelle Waterson is a little bit more technical in the grappling phases, not putting herself in the head and arm um, death roll whenever she gets a chance, which was something that plagued her on a lot earlier on in her career, especially in the UFC. Um, I think if she is gonna win this fight, it's gonna be in the grappling. I think she didn't have much success there in the first fight, but I think her aggressiveness lately is a little promising, right? Like there's a significant change I think in her last couple fights as far as being willing to engage on the feet. And I think that could actually do her some good in this matchup. But I think because of Marina Rodriguez's striking prowess, she's not going to be as willing, despite how willing she has looked lately. So I think Marina Rodriguez should cruise to a decision victory here. I'm picking her. How you feeling, Sean?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Marina here. I think her last fight when she lost to Verna, I don't care, whatever her name is because I'm not gonna pronounce it correctly.
Genjiroba.
Yeah, sure. I think that was a big surprise. I did not expect that to happen. I did not expect her to lose that fight. I think I even picked Marina to win, And I think she's had a great run, and then obviously we've seen what Amanda Lemos had become. Having her lose to Amanda pretty dominant fashion, I think was a nice little surprise, but not surprise, a nice little wake up call for her. But then I think she didn't wake up yet, and I think this is kind of the UFC throwing her a bone here because it's really rare when you get to fight the same fighter again when you're both on a losing streak. It's usually, like there's some continued beef going on. You both have been winning. You found each other again. But I think that they believe that Marina can get right back into a top five ranking. And I think Michelle has passed her peak, and which is hard to say that because you know what? She's from where I was born. She's from Albuquerque, New Mexico. It's hard to go against her. Um, but I just really believe Marina's a way better fighter, and I think honestly, if Marina shows up the way she did, when she beat Jan, when she beat Mackenzie Dern, I think she could do the same thing and just absolutely even against Waterson Gomez the first time. I think she can absolutely dominate this fight in a pretty clear cut fashion. But if she looks like the way she did against Virna, I think Waterson Gomez has a more than a chance to pull off a pretty good upset. But I have to believe Marina comes back and gets a nice dub here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's co-main event time, baby. It's co-main event time. I just gotta say, this is the fight of the card for me. This is it. This is as good as it gets, in my opinion. Bryce Mitchell minus 200 coming up against Dan Ige plus 175. There's value there, if you ask me. And I ain't even giving you my pick yet. Sean, how you feeling?
Ooh, ooh, I like how you brought it to me with a little surprise. I gotta be real with you. I'm going with Bryce. I'm a big fan of Bryce. I was a big fan of what the UFC, what he's done, and he is he's a monster. When he takes you down, it's very scary time, and I believe firmly that the fight against Ilya was very alarming for me in a way where it was I think he was thrown in thinking that Ilya wasn't prepared. I think, and obviously there was some situation going on with Bryce as well outside the octagon, but Ilya just absolutely ragdolled him, made him look like a totally different level. But that level is still not as at the level of Dan Ige, and I'm a big fan of Dan Ige and what he's done as of late. But I think this is a fight made for Bryce Mitchell to get himself back into one of the top rankings, and I think Bryce is severely underestimated now with how big of a loss that was. So I have to believe that Ilya, Jesus, Bryce gets the job done, and I'm gonna say second round submission.
Ooh, you're going bold with it.
I am.
God damn. I'm not gonna lie, I hate this for me. Like I really do. I hate it for me because I agree with you. I am also picking Bryce Mitchell here. But I don't agree with you as far as how this fight should play out. I think,
Ooh,
especially lately, like I think Bryce Mitchell, obviously his strengths are there very clearly.
yes.
I think the person to focus on as far as career development right now in this fight is Dan Ige. I think he's
Mm,
gotten much better, obviously under the tutelage of Eric Nixick, and I think his
true.
ability
It's
to
true.
follow a game plan, especially through the stretch of a fight, has really impressed me, man. This dude is a good soldier if there is one, and he really does listen to his corner. I loved his last fight against Nate Landwehr. Really took the dog out of the dog, right? Like
You're right.
put him in a position where he didn't really have the chance to even get out of that first gear. You love to see that because I feel like earlier on in his career that would have been a fucking tooth and nail scrap, honestly.
Yeah.
But loving the way I'm seeing Danny Ige change his style, and I think if he's able to keep Bryce Mitchell on the outside of his edge of his jab, and and just give him enough threats to make those takedown attempts fewer and fewer as the fight goes on, I think he has a real shot here. I just think I agree with you. Bryce Mitchell's grappling is a different level, baby. Doug Nasty. It seems like he's a, and I say this with bated breath. He seems like a shitty person, right? Like not the kind of person you wanna have living on your block, if I'm being real with you.
Yeah,
But as far as his skills, man, the dude is nasty. I love what I see. He's really strong deceptively for his build. Um, and when he gets a hold of you, like the grip strength is so clear. Like he has clear grappler strength that I'm sure his opponents feel don't make sense because you see it often when he's in those control positions, he looks really good. I don't think he looked like himself against Ilya Topuria, and obviously Ilya's a fucking dog, so he made that fight the problem that it was. So all respect, not taking anything away from Ilya, but I do feel like Bryce Mitchell didn't look like himself there, and I expect him to be in big time comeback form here. So I couldn't agree with you more. Bryce Mitchell is the play, but I got my eyes on Dan Ige. I
for
wouldn't
sure.
mind. I love that because I was initially gonna go with Ige, but I was like, you know what, fuck it, let me just do it. Because either way I can make the case. And then now that you picked Bryce Mitchell as well, I could just fucking watch it and enjoy it, right? I don't
That's
have to
right.
worry. I don't have to stress. That's an important thing to consider when we're picking head to head. Next up, main event time, baby.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
Lord. Rafael Fiziev at minus 150 coming up against Mateusz Gamrot gives you a plus 140 return. Oh man, the dynamic of this fight is very simple. Grappler versus striker, bro. Shout out to Robin Black, because none of this shit matters. The grappler versus striker thing is so fake.
Yep.
That narrative doesn't exist in 2023 MMA, but uh, it is clear that that's where they want to be, right? They're gonna do whatever they can to get there, and it's gonna take place in all the phases in between. Um, I think Mateus Gamrot has had some really bad luck in his career recently. Um, I think just got some bad breaks, but also just came up on the right side of the split decision with help me out here. It's that time of night now. What is his name?
Know who he beat against Jalen
No, 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 no. Before that,
when he lost
the
to
one that fought Islam. Why am I
Dariush.
forgetting his name? No, 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 no.
That's
He has not
oh
fought
no
Islam
no
yet.
oh yeah. I'm thinking. Why am I thinking? I'm thinking. Oh, see, I'm tired now. I'm thinking Oliveira. You said Islam. I'm thinking of their fight that's happening in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Um.
What is his name?
Oh
God
my
damn it.
lord.
I see his face, bro.
Who Gamrot has fought? Armon.
Yes.
That's
Yes,
who you're thinking of.
Arman
Okay.
Saryukyan. Yes,
Yes.
that's exactly who I'm thinking of. Sorry, that was probably terrible podcasting for you guys. Sorry. But um I think he came out on the right side of that when he shouldn't. So it feels like the luck sort of got redistributed here. Um I think it's I think this is a tough matchup for both of these guys. I think they've both shown to be extremely durable, and I think Fiziev's striking is on another level. I
Yep.
think he's really gonna have uh Gamrot on the ropes, so to speak, for the majority of this fight. But I do think Gamrot's jab is really gonna be his key to success in this one. I think he has really deceptively long arms for his build, and he gets that jab out there really cleanly. And I think if he can disrupt Fiziev, push him back, get him towards the fence, rinse and repeat, I think this should be his fight to win. Um, but I'm gonna be picking Rafael Fiziev here, and it's for one reason. I think he has learned the cheat code from fighting Justin Gaethje.
Yep.
And you know what that cheat code is? That when you fucking walk someone down and they're forced to walk backwards the entire fight, it is tiring, bro. It is really tiring. And I think trying to stay on your back foot and be athletic, especially as a grappler, is a very hard thing to do. Look for Fiziev to come out a little more aggressive than usual, hold space in the cage, and set himself apart here. I think this fight's gonna take place in all the phases. We're gonna see Gamrot get multiple takedowns. We're gonna see both of these guys tested in the other's best phase. Um, I just think Fiziev has a little bit more high quality experience, but also the skills match up in a way that I think he should be able to get it done here. But once again, I won't be surprised either way. There's ways that this fight could be easy for both guys, so that's what always makes for a fun main event. And the fact that this is a main event is why I'm picking Fiziev. If this was 3 rounds, I'm going Gamrot all day. So
Yeah.
Sean, how you feeling? Am I crazy?
No, I honestly agree with you here because I felt that Fiziev is going to be pretty intense for the majority of this fight, but I felt that Gamrot's going to definitely shoot for some takedowns here. He is known to be a wrestler too, so I did believe that if Gamrot can get him to the ground, then I think he can have an advantage there when it comes to holding on to that round. But I I do believe Fiziev, you- learning from your past fight definitely is a tremendous help. And fighting someone like Gaethje and going to a war with someone who you go to war with every time and usually are on the winning end of, but to be on the losing end of a crazy war with Gaethje in a majority loss like that, it was pretty close. I do think that it wasn't close, but the judges had it close, and I think it was a hell of a fight, and I think Fiziev learns from this, and I think he's a better fighter right now. But if like you said, I think if this was 3 rounds, I think Gamrot can win on the points, and maybe even a submission in there. But um, I think Fiziev for 5 rounds of constantly putting the pressure and just making Gamrot fight Fiziev's game, which I see happening for at least 3 rounds. I think this is Fiziev's fight to get back on the win column, and not too much of a loss for Gamrot here. The problem with that I find with this is not with them two, but more of the division as a whole. I feel this division is so intense with how many great names that there are, but the problem is with this division is that everyone's already fought each other. We've hit that point in this division where everyone's gotten a piece of each other, and it's hard to create matchmaking where now everyone said that they fought. Everyone in the top 8 has fought at least 4 of the guys in front of them or 2 of the guys behind them. Like, it's everyone could say they fought each other. So, like, even with this win against Fiziev, right? Like, I look at it as beyond this point, beyond what happens next, and you know, I I I wonder what what could possibly be next. Like, is he now gonna go fight Dustin? Like, how does that work? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's so much question, so many question marks that come in with whoever wins this fight because everyone's fought each other. There's no like, oh well, this we can have this debate. We've seen this debate. We've seen the the trail. We've seen the branches that are from each and every one who has fought one another. So I do think Fiziev gets the job done here, but I'm more interested in what the hell happens with the lightweight division after this because they're all a bunch of dogs in 1 through 8, 1 through 10. But man, it gets very tough on what happens next.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that title fight because of it, man. I think Islam has a real shot, and we'll get there when we get there, man. But I think
Yes,
watch out for that rematch. I think Charles Oliveira is a fucking problem. But
most
with all
definitely.
that being said, this was awesome, bro. This is one of my favorite episodes we've done to date. This was great. I
Yes,
can't
sir.
wait to continue this new format of giving you guys 2 episodes a week, right? Like, talk about giving the people what they want, right? 2 full episodes a week on top of all the other good stuff you got coming at you from OTS. Like, there's just so much content coming at you guys. So make
That's right.
sure you are following the brand at OTS Media Co. as well as OTS Media on all social media platforms. Make sure that you're following Sean because clearly this guy knows what the fuck he's talking about, and he's just overall mensch of a man, right? You got to love that. Um, I would say follow me, but you already are, right? Come on. Come on, bro. But thank you so much for tuning in. This is literally my finest pleasure, and then Sean and I will probably now talk for another 15 minutes about just just mutually going back and forth on how this was amazing. Can't wait to be here with you guys next week and cover another awesome weekend of UFC action. We'll see you guys then. Have a good one, guys.
Are we not doing picks or dynasty?
You guys, it is 2:21 in the morning, okay? It is
Well, we'll
2:21.
fix this.
I kind of don't want to. I kind of want to leave this unhinged part out of it. Thank you for letting me get everything out. I thought that was an amazing show ender, but
Yeah,
I
we could just do it in
time. Oh,
our
I
spare
love it.
time.
It's time to pick. I love it.
Okay, all right,
I'm
we're
gonna
doing it.
go first pick. I think this one's pretty easy, right? Ahmed Usman. No, I'm joking. Rafael Fiziev. Let's get it. Who you got?
Ooh. Okay. I don't know. You know what? That's a little bit of surprise for me. All right, I get two picks here. So, oh, okay. This is to start it off. I'll take Bryce.
Nice.
Um,
Bryce is nice indeed.
yes, he is. Yes, he is. And then I don't want you to steal it. I think you're going to, but even though I didn't pick him, I'm gonna take Gamrot because I do believe that he has an interesting future ahead. Besides this week,
Ooh, I did not expect that. Shout out to you for giving me the fighters I wanted.
I
Holy
know,
shit! I
I
can't
know,
I can't believe this happened.
I
I
know,
can't
I
believe.
know who you're taking
But
too.
we're looking long shot here. Give me Brian Battles,
That's who I didn't want you to take.
and then give me Mizuki in a way.
Ooh, see, that was the other one I didn't want you to take. Damn it. So what happens when you're picking at 2:30 in the morning? You're not thinking straight. All right, all right.
I think you got some good picks. I'm not hating on the picks. I like it.
Yeah, sure. You're not now. All right. For me, I gotta think this one through here. To start it off with my two picks, I am going to say, oh, this is tough. This is tougher than tough. I am going to say, hmm, got me
He is
thinking
gonna
here.
say it
I'm gonna
at
say
some
it.
point. He's he's gonna say it.
Damn it, this is tough because you know what? You know what? This is a short term answer for right now. I'm gonna take Marina. This is a
Ooh,
short term answer for me.
golly.
Yeah, this is a two fight thing with me because I don't think her career is gonna last much longer. I think she's got maybe three or four more fights left in her, and I think I could get a couple wins out of that.
I like that
Then,
thought.
mm, I don't like this past. Oh, this is tough for me. This is because I have three on my mind, but I gotta narrow it to one. This is the
Ooh.
this is the difficulty because
Once I pick, I would love to hear the struggle because I genuinely am confused right now.
oh, there's two, and they are oh Is there a way I could switch my picks now?
If it is the Marina Rodriguez pick, I'll allow it.
Yes,
If it's any
yes,
other pick, I won't.
yes.
Okay.
I'm taking her out, and I'm gonna take Miles and Dan in this one.
Ooh, what the fuck? I didn't expect that. Damn, that's some heat. That's some heat right there. I love
Yes,
it.
I'm changing it up.
God
Sorry,
damn, I
sorry,
wasn't ready
Marina.
for that.
I was going for short-term success
Oh,
there, but you know what? I'm willing to take 2 L's in this dynasty week to build on the future.
I like it. I like the approach, and honestly, I don't mind it. Um, yeah, two really good options, no matter what.
Yeah,
Fuck.
sorry, buddy.
Yeah, I really wanted Argetta there. Um, but this makes things interesting now, right? Because now I have a couple of good sleepy options here.
Yes.
I think my main goal here is to go upside. And I think if I'm going upside, I think it's also important for this dynasty exercise to consider the division they're in. Give me Tamirez
Ooh,
Vidal as
very
my
good.
final pick.
Very good here.
And Dynasty this week is done. So our final team update. I'm not going to give you all the names because they are in front of your face, but I'm going to make sure that you see the people that we drafted for now. So let me effort this before I get it out. We got Argetta and we've got Johns. So my dynasty team update for this week includes Rafael Fiziev, Brian Battle, Mizuki Inoue, and Tamirez Vidal, while Sean has Bryce Mitchell, Mateus Gamrot, Dan Argetta, and Miles Johns. I love this draft. I think this draft, I almost fucking skipped it. And I think this was one of the more fun ones recently too, just because there was so many options. The fact that none of us picked Rodriguez, we might be feeling stupid as fuck after this. The fact that none of us picked Charles Jourdain or Ricardo Ramos,
Yeah,
I think that's only based on the fact that that's such a close matchup.
yeah.
That's why we
That's the
both kind
reason.
of stood away.
Yep,
Both of those guys are nails too. So
yep.
yeah, this was a fun episode all around. Sean, I'm not gonna do another full second outro. So all I gotta say is thank you so much for saving the show. Because if it wasn't for you, clearly I would have drove this train right off the motherfucking tracks. Thank you so much. It's been a blast since you've got incorporated here, and I can't see it any other way. So
I appreciate it.
once again, it's been a fucking ball. We'll see you guys next week.
Yes, sir.
Peace.
Peace.